How you guys doing? My name's Charlie and I'm going to start a lifting channel. I'm 47 years old. I weigh 198, 99 pounds. Father of two. I work full-time in construction. I do a lot of side jobs. And I train to compete in powerlifting. I've been powerlifting for about 10 years. And if you're like me and you want to get into lifting, you want to get into shape, you work full-time, maybe you're a full-time student, this could be for men or women, you don't have a lot of time. And I've noticed that there's a lot of videos, a lot of YouTube channels, there's a ton of fitness stuff. And there's a lot of it's good. I don't want to disparage anybody. But my goal is to set you up with proper instruction on how to do, the compound lifts such as deadlift, squat, bench, military press, all the barbell work, accessories, how to properly do lat pull downs, that sort of thing, push-ups, pull-ups, dips, all the accessory exercises. And I want to show you how to do it in an expedient way so that you can get in and out and on with your life and still get good training in. I'm here to tell you that over the years, I've really come up with an efficient way, especially for guys my age, 45 to 50. I can do this in a way that is not going to kill you. It's going to be fun. It switches things up. I rotate all my exercises. I keep things fresh. And, I just thought it would be, I'd like to throw my knowledge and experience into the ring and see what happens. I mean, I'm 47 years old. I'm pretty ripped. And I'm strong. Currently, my numbers are, I got around a 600 deadlift. I'm squatting somewhere in the neighborhood of 545, 550. And my bench is hovering right around 350. Now, these are by no means elite level athlete numbers, but they're competitive and they're pretty good for my age. I competed in the 2016 drug tested nationals for the United States Powerlifting Association, and I took the national records and I held them for, I don't know, about 8 months. Someone came along and beat them, and I have yet to take those numbers back. I've been natural my entire life. I have not taken a single illegal supplement up until about 8 months ago, where I did start testosterone replacement. So I am on a little bit of testosterone, and I'll be happy to divulge all that information. I can assure you that I was just as ripped and strong. Well, the test did give me a little bit of a boost. I'm not going to lie about that. I got to a point where my numbers were starting to decline and I was losing motivation and I was really having a hard time lifting. So I went ahead and got tested, and I found out, I'm 46 years old. My numbers were a little bit low, and it was suggested that it could improve my quality of life, and I got to tell you, it has. I feel like a 20-year-old again. But that we'll go into that in later videos if you wish. There's a lot I'd like to cover. This video, I'm going to focus on the deadlift. I thought that was a good place to start. If you're a novice lifter, if you're an intermediate lifter, hopefully that I can impart some knowledge to you. Hopefully, something that I'm doing will translate to your form or your technique. Maybe you in the comments can set me straight on something. I'm by no means an expert. I never would claim to be, but I've been doing this for a long time, and I train with people for free. I let them come over to the house and we get them going. I would never charge somebody for training. I enjoy lifting. I enjoy people joining me lifting, and I really like helping especially new people that are, just trying to get into the sport, or just, look, if you're just trying to get into shape, you don't need to become a power lifter. But I work with all shapes and sizes, male, female, doesn't matter. So to quote Greg Doucette, if you're a circle, you're welcome here at this house. Everybody's welcome. Doesn't matter what your pronouns are. So, I suppose I should give you an introduction to my little garage gym. As you can see behind me, I've got a little bit of a setup, and I'll just quickly give you a little roundabout of what I'm working with. And maybe it's something that you can get set up at your house for reasonably inexpensive, and I'll show you how I procured all this stuff for well under the cost of what it would cost to buy it, new. We'll talk about that here in a second. So as you can see, my garage, it's full of everything that life has to offer. I've got 2 beautiful children, a lovely wife, and she trains as well. I do a lot of work. This garage it's a full workbench. As you can see, I got the drill press, I've got the table router, I got everything you need. I got all the tools. You know what? I got a big compressor. I've got all the automotive equipment that you need to, I could fix your truck, car, SUV, whatever you want. But the problem is that it also has to function as a mill, and it has to function as a gym. So as you can see, I got my trusty pull-up and dip bar, and that's kind of a must-have. Everybody should have something to do pulls and dips with, and you don't have to have a rack like that. You can for very inexpensive, you can get stuff that'll mount on your wall or your ceiling. This is a Titan bench. It's competition regulation, meaning that it's the proper height and width for what you would do to compete. I've got a rack, and the rack's not fancy by any stretch, but what it does have is this awesome pulley system, and it's got 2 pulleys. The one on the bottom is a 1-to-1 mechanical advantage, and the one on the top is a 2-to-1 mechanical advantage. And I can use plates to weight that down, and I can do all sorts of stuff. I can do all the pulls, all the pull downs, that sort of thing. This is a Titan power bar. I bought this specifically for squatting and for benching. It's just an all-around general purpose bar, and it will support, I believe, up to, it says 1,500 pounds, but I've never had that much weight on it. I have about 650 pounds of free weights. I got these handy little dumbbell bars. I don't know what you call them, but you can make dumbbells out of them, so you can use your existing weights to make those. If you're fortunate enough to have actual dumbbells, that's a lot better, because you got to take the plates on and off, and they're big and bulky, so they can hamper your full range of motion. I do have these little 1-inch suckers. I've purchased a few of those sets at Walmart, and they were, I don't know, $50 each, and they came with like 30 pounds. Most of the weights that I've procured, I've gotten from estate sales, Craigslist, OfferUp, that sort of thing. And I've just purchased them as I went. I think I started out with just a barbell and maybe 225 pounds of weights. And over the months, I've collected enough to train for competition. I've got this adjustable bench so I can do incline and decline. It does have this handy little leg curl, hamstring curl thing on the end of it, which I've modified, and I put hand grips on so I can do rows with that. I got this thing so I can do preacher curls with it, which I made myself. I've got 3 different bars. This is the golden purchase here. This is a Texas Deadlift Bar, and that's what they use in competition in the United States Powerlifting Association. I have this. I call this my rat bar. It's bent, it's old, but it works great with this T-bar row attachment on the end of it. I can do a variety. I can do a whole workout with just that. And then I have this little 1-inch bar, which I use with the 1-inch plates. What's nice about that is my wife doesn't bench nearly enough as much as I do. And she struggles with the 45-pound bar, so we can use that 1-inch and just slowly get, she can participate in all the same lifts that I'm doing. She's not a power lifter, but she does work out quite extensively, and she doesn't work with heavy weights, and that's fine. You don't need to. I got this cheesy row machine, and at a glance, you would laugh at it, but I'll tell you what. You put some bands on it, and it actually works great for warm-ups, and it's really handy. I really like it. Yeah, it is cheesy, but it does the job. So as you can see, the gym's not fancy. I have this, I use, this is my deadlift platform. It's just 3/4 inch plywood with some carpeting on top of it. And really all that does is protect my garage floor when I'm dropping the weights. I don't drop them intentionally, but it happens. But even when you're doing just regular deadlifts, they are slamming down pretty hard. If you got over 500 pounds on that bar, and it'll do a number on your garage floor, as you can see. Ideally, you would use 3/4 inch, 1 inch rubber mats like they have in the gyms. I found that those are really expensive and kind of hard to get with this pandemic, so I went with plywood. Now, the downside to plywood is it does compress after a while, and you have to kind of every couple of months throw them out and put new boards down, but that's reasonably easy. Anybody could do that. This is just a 1/2 inch mat, and it works. It's good for what it is. And that's my gym. That's a little punching bag for the kids. The setup's not fancy, but I can do everything I need to do to train for competition. The big thing is if you have a barbell. I think that bench online, I bought it from Titan for $130. The Titan Power Bar was $160. It's not nearly as good as the Ohios or the other ones, which they're much better bars. The knurling's better. The bushings that rotate the collars are better, but it is a good bar. It's solid. It can handle the weight. It's not going to bend. I recommend Titan Fitness for inexpensive alternatives that are adequate for the task. They're not going to be as good as the Rogue. They're not going to be as good as the high end stuff, but they're okay. They're great to get started. I don't even know what brand that power rack is, and I've modified it. I've cut the collar, the hood, the J hooks. I modified those. I've drilled the extra holes in it so I can set the rack in my proper height. I use the oil change ramps for doing rack pulls. They work. I've slammed 500 pounds on them repeatedly for over a year, and they still haven't broke. At a glance, my gym's laughable. Those weights I painted with spray paint just to distinguish the different weights from each other, because the 35s look similar to the 45s and don't want to get them mixed up. I've got 3 different brands of plates. They are all mix and match and mangled, but I've got them in order so that when I set them up on each side, they're symmetrical at least. And when I'm doing my workouts, it's not fancy, but it works. And I have trained 4 actual competitions using this very equipment, and guys that compete do come over and train with me. And we got everything that the gym's got as far as what you need. So the reason why I'm telling you all this is because I want you to know that you don't need a whole lot to get started. If you can get a barbell and you can manage to get something to do, I'll even show you how to make your own squat rack if you want. You can do it with $50 worth of stuff from Home Depot. And if you can get a couple plates to work out with, I'll show you how you can get in shape just using that. And from there, you can, along the way, procure more equipment, and heck, 6 months, a year, you'll have a full gym in your garage, and you can do everything you need to do, and you'll never need to leave the house again. That being said, I do sometimes miss working out with other people. It gets kind of lonely sometimes. All right, so first I want to talk about some basic things for the deadlift. Now, the deadlift is essentially, I got a deadlift bar. The deadlift is from the floor picking up weight and standing straight up with it. Now you notice I'm wearing socks. I usually train barefoot, but for hygienic reasons I'll put socks on. When I compete, these are the shoes I wear. These are Vibram 5 fingers. And essentially, when I'm deadlifting, I want as little between my foot and the ground as possible. Minimal soles. You'll see some guys using Chuck Taylors. You see some people using squat shoes, which I don't recommend, but whatever works for them. Squat shoes, Olympic lifting shoes, what they are is they have a little bit of a raised heel, and they're very, very solidly planted on the ground. They have no give to them. They're not very comfortable to walk around in. I actually have a pair of Vans high tops that I've modified. I put in an insert in the heel which raises it a little bit. So essentially, my Vans are squat shoes, and I like them because I can walk around with them. They're a little bit uncomfortable because the insert is solid. But the reason you don't want to wear things like cross trainers or running shoes is because they have cushion, and you'll at heavy weights you'll notice your ankles will move a little bit. They'll compress into the ground, and then there's the mechanical advantage of it all. I'm reasonably built for deadlifting because of my proportions. The higher you lift the bar, you're able to lift the bar, the more of a mechanical advantage you have. So that's why this lift is very difficult for people that are tall. You see these short guys that, you know, they start here with the bar and then they got to lift it a little bit, and they're huge and they're bulky and they can just pull a ton of weight naturally. I'm 5'9" and a smidge. My arms and legs are reasonably proportioned, so my mechanical advantage is it's about average. I'm average in every way as far as how I'm built. If I didn't work out, I'd be a fairly big guy, stocky if you will, but nothing impressive, nothing huge. So that's the footwear of it. I always start warming up with just the bar. My stance is feet together with the toes pointed out a little bit. And we'll go into why that is, but for starters, we're just going to warm up. And all I'm going to do for warm-ups, I'm going to kind of straighten my legs out, arch my back a little bit, and just kind of pull, just warm up. And I try to, maintain a pretty consistent form when I do this. I'm focusing on hinging at the back, stretching the hamstrings out as I go down. If I keep my legs kind of straight, my hamstrings will stretch a little bit, not a lot. We're just warming up. I always, no matter what lift I'm doing, I always start with the bar. I just warm up and get a feel for everything. I'm 47, so when I wake up, everything pops and cracks and hurts. And, just doing a warm up like that kind of gets things going. So that's that. That's the warm up. That's the footwear. Now we'll get some weight on the bar and go a little more in depth. Alright, so today we're gonna go over the setup for conventional deadlift, which is essentially feet shoulder width for most people, and for me, I'm almost standing with my heels together, and I'll explain why I've done that. When I first started deadlifting, I did have a wider stance, almost like I was jumping. And over time I moved my stance in because I can generate much more power that way. The setup, your feet should be under the bar, and how close to your body should the bar be? Well, if you bend down to pick the bar up and your shins move it, it's too close. Now I want to get as close as possible, so that's why I turn my legs out a little bit, because when I bend down to pick the bar up, it doesn't hit the bar because the shins are moving outwards instead of forwards. So you don't want a bar too far out, because when you pick it up, it's harder on your back and it swings to your legs. You see how the bar moves? It swings in. What you're looking for is a straight path. When you video yourself deadlifting, you want to see the bar move in a straight path, up and down. So now if you're too close, again, when I go to pick the bar up, the bar moves, digs into your shins, and you're too far back. You're losing proper leverage. So for me, the bar is about where this little bump in my foot is, at the top where your big toe goes. I'm not a biologist. I don't know these part names, but basically midfoot is what you're shooting for. Set up. I'm almost standing at attention like I'm in the military. I've got about 3 inches between my heels. My heels are turned out almost to a 45-degree angle, but not quite. They're, it's about 20 degrees. And I'm going to bend my arms straight down. I'm going to grab the bar. And I'm going to pull the slack of the bar. Essentially, I'm going to tension up. I'm going to turn my shoulders in like this. So I grab the bar and I'm turning my shoulders in. My chest is out. My back, I'm focusing on squeezing those back muscles together. Got tension in the legs. And I'm just going to pull straight up. Bam. You see guys doing this. And sometimes guys don't go all the way up. They're not quite locked out. Bam. You don't need to do that nonsense. Just straight up. In competition, they look for you to come up and they wait for the bar to stop moving before he gives you the signal to drop the bar down again. And you have to stay with the bar in competition. You can't drop it. You can't use straps. And they also look for any kind of hitching. If the bar moves in different directions or it goes down at all, the lift doesn't count. So, the other thing I'm focusing on is it's a two-part lift. It's a push and a pull. So, I'm pushing the floor with my legs and I'm pulling with my back. And I'm meditating on doing both of those at the same time. So, I get set up, grab the bar, shoulders in, back tight, arched, not a lot, just, straighten it out. Pull the slack out, and at the same time I'm firing with my legs and lifting with my back. So, 1, 2, 3, bam! Now, I go for speed. I want to accelerate as quickly as I can. But, if you're one of those guys that's a slow lifter, as long as you are always moving up, the lift will count. Say hello to my wife. I'm doing an instructional video.
Oops, my bad.
So that is, say hello.
Hi.
She's not even going to show herself. Anyway, so grab the bar, shoulders in, chest out, take the slack out, fire with the legs, pull it back, bam. Stay with the bar all the way down. There's a lot of benefit from doing negatives, which is a slow go down. I've hurt my back a couple times, and I'm 47 years old, so I stay away from those. Even though they're super good and they will really help you get strong, I just, at my age, I kind of just try to keep it to just the pull, and I don't like to do the slow negative, because that's how I've always hurt myself. There's something that I was doing wrong in my form, and I was training for a while without a coach, and I developed some bad habits, and I didn't have anyone to critique or correct me, and I wound up hurting myself. So I also recommend training with guys that have some experience, or finding a certified coach, or watching videos like this, because the number one thing is the prevention of injury. If you're hurt, you can't train. Simple. We'll go over it one more time. Feet in, bar about halfway to the feet, toes out a little bit, grab the bar, arms straight down, I didn't say that. Shoulders in, chest out, back straight, fire from the legs, lift the back, bam! And down. I'm almost dropping the bar when I go down, but I'm staying with it, so I am releasing tension on all my muscles and essentially dropping the bar, but I'm staying with it. You cannot let go of the bar. The negative to that is you got a lot of weight on there. You're holding the bar, You drop it while holding onto it. Sometimes it can hurt your hands when it bounces. All right, now we're going to talk about grip. How do I hold this bar? So depends on your stance. You could be wide, you could be narrow, but basically you want your arms straight down. Now, the reason for that is mechanical advantage. You get the most mechanical advantage, meaning the bar is high. The higher the bar is, or the less distance you have to pull it, the easier it is. So, if I move my arms out, it draws me down closer to the bar, meaning I have a longer distance to pull it. If I put my arms in, I'm not going to get a stable grip. There's no knurling here. So I'm right at the edge, right where the knurling starts. My arms go straight down. Now, what I will do is at the lighter weights, I will do a thumbless grip, and I'll just hold it with my fingers, because that works the forearms out. And I can just pick it up pretty easily. 225 pounds is nothing. So a lot of people use what's called a hook grip. And essentially what that is they wrap their thumb around the bar and they put their fingers over their thumbs, which locks it into the bar, and it works just as good as straps do. I'm telling you, it's probably the best grip. However, it's very hard to get accustomed to because the knurling digs into the thumb and you have to build up a callus. Let me demonstrate. So I'm gonna put the thumb over the bar, and my thumb's gonna be in line with the bar, and I'm gonna lock my fingers over it and pull that way. And it's the best grip, but it's the hardest to get used to. It does hurt a little bit at the beginning. It takes about 2 weeks to get used to it before it's nothing. I choose to use what's called a supinated grip. So I've heard it pronounced supinated. I think it's supinated. Correct me if I'm wrong. And what that is well, a reverse grip on one side. Basically, you're turning one hand. And the reason for that is at heavier weights where it's hard to hold the bar, it'll start to roll out of your fingers, and then the bar being round will roll out and you'll drop it. While if you have one hand turned, it can't roll because it's rolling into one hand, rolling into the other. It keeps it from rolling. You basically have tension on both directions of the bar, so it can't turn. Meaning, you can hold more weight. It's I think it's the best grip for the heaviest weight, but it does come with a few drawbacks. One, some people can develop shoulder imbalances because they're pulling with the shoulders in different directions. Now, what some people do to combat that is they'll just switch. They'll rotate, they'll pull this way, and then they'll pull that way. I've been pulling for 10 years, and I've never switched. I do such a variety of different presses and pulls and accessory work that I don't know. I don't see the imbalance. The other danger with this grip is when people go heavy and they haven't tuned their form in, they have a tendency to want to try to curl the bar with, so they'll do like this when they're lifting. They'll curl it, they'll bend their elbows. And when you get heavy and you have your grip turned, it can sever your bicep. That is the most common injury with a supinated grip. Now, I think it's completely safe. In my opinion, this is in my opinion, I think it's completely safe as long as you're focused on keeping your arms straight. I've been guilty of doing this. You get heavy in here, I'm like, I don't know if I can lift this. And we're talking about like competition lifts where I'm going for a weight I've never lifted before. Sometimes, when you're at your top end of what you're physically capable of, it can, the form kind of goes bye-bye a little bit for some lifters. Other guys, they've mastered it. I would say, I would never be so arrogant to say I'm an expert, but I believe I'm a competent lifter, and I've been doing it a long time, and I've gotten to the point where I think I'm as safe as a lifter can be. Injury, I injured myself doing warm-ups. It's possible. You can hurt yourself at any time. There's always a risk. But there's a risk with anything we do. The idea is you're always taking a chance, but we're going to do the things that we can do to minimize the risk. So keep those arms straight, locked out. These what you want to imagine your arms are in this lift. They're just hooks that are attached to your body. They don't perform any function other than holding the bar. So this is 225, real easy, lightweight. Grab it. Same. I'm going to use my thumbs for this. Same exact thing. I'm going to turn my shoulders in, arch the back, or straighten the back, get tight, take the tension out of the bar, and pull straight up. And because I'm supinated, I can just kind of hold the bar forever. I'm hooked onto it. As long I'm not curling it, I'm just holding it. It's dead weight. Set it up. Reset, meaning every time you do a rep, I'm going to drop the bar and reset. So, tight, shoulders back, slack out of the bar. Bam. Reset. Bam. Reset. Bam. Reset. Bam. And I highly recommend you video yourself, especially at a side view, so you can see where you're hitching it, or where you're maybe arching your back, pulling too much with your back and not your legs. A lot of guys, they'll shoot their butt up and then pull. I used to do that. So that makes the lift exponentially harder and more dangerous. And the reason why is they haven't meditated on the movement. They haven't thought about firing the back at the same time firing the legs. So I'm thinking of myself as like a machine. When you hit that button, the PLC activates the lower and upper at the same time. We'll get some more weight on there, see what happens. Alright, so we covered foot setup, we covered arm setup, we covered grip types. Now we got a little bit of weight on the bar, 315 pounds. We'll go over my setup again. Got the bar placed about halfway from my toes to my heels. Got my feet turned out a little bit so when I bend down, I don't push the bar. I'm gonna reach straight down, grab the bar, get a good grip, get my feet planted firmly, turn my shoulders in, get tight, and I'm gonna fire with the legs at the same time I'm gonna lift with the back. So bam, fire with the legs at the same time, lift with the back. It's going to really depend on what type of lifter you are. Some guys, they grab the bar and they're slow and methodical. You'll see some guys that arch like this, and some guys, they kind of hitch. They all count as long as the bar doesn't move in the opposite direction, as long as it doesn't go down. What the judges are looking for is a solid movement, and you're not helping the bar by humping it. You'll see that a lot at heavier weights. As long as the bar is moving straight up, if you mess up and use your back, if you shoot your butt up, and you do a back lift, you're grinding. As long as the bar is moving in the same direction and it doesn't hitch. Hitching is, you got the bar and you're struggling with it, you kind of go down a little, no lift, you might as well just drop it. For gym purposes, if you want to grind it out, as long as you're not in a position where you're going to hurt yourself, do it, because you're going to get better at lifting. And it just sometimes, it feels good. 600 pounds is 600 pounds. If you're doing a video and you're showing your friends that you ground out 600 pounds and maybe you messed up a little and they're like, that lift doesn't count. Yeah, I'm in my garage, dude. relax. As far as I'm concerned, you lifted it. You got that sucker up, even if it wasn't perfect. Some guys, they'll stand with their feet out, and whatever works for them, especially the taller guys. If your feet gets past shoulder width, consider putting your arms inside your legs. This is a modified sumo. Now, I'll go over the technique of this later. This is a full sumo lift, and there's a ton of technique to this lift, and we'll go over that later. But for now, we're just doing the conventional pull. And I just want to drill into you guys. Get your feet planted in the ground. Get your toes pointed up. Knees are tracking with the toes. Arms straight down. Shoulders back, chest out, back tight. Pull the slack out of the bar. And fire with the legs, lift with the back. That's 315. Put some more weight on the bar and see what it looks like. Alright, now we got 405 pounds on the bar. Starting to get a little heavy. I'm going to go ahead and put my belt on. I usually train beltless till about 70% of my max. And I think that is beneficial because it trains your core. The belt assists your core. It acts as almost a second set of abs. You want it tight enough where you can get your hand in there. You don't want it super tight. You do want it even, though I had the wrong hole there. That's what she said. So, you got a lot of guys will tell you to expand into the belt. Your body will do that naturally. But essentially, the belt is a second set of abs. It will help you lift more, and it'll keep your back safe. Why do I wear a belt? I know some people will say, oh, a belt's not a raw lift, or, it doesn't. Stop it. I'm going to use any advantage that the United States Powerlifting Association legally affords me. So, if I can use chalk for better grip, magnesium salt chalk, so I can grip the bar better, I'm going to use it. If it's legal to wear a belt and that's going to help me lift more, I'm going to use it. I'm squatting raw. They say I can use knee sleeves. I've got the best ones I believe the best ones on the market, which are the SBD sleeves. They give you a little bit of a mechanical advantage. They'll help you lift 10 more pounds because they're so tight and they're so springy. They actually help you spring back up. Is that cheating? Is that a real squat? You got 525 pounds on your back and you got knee sleeves on? Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and say that's a real squat. And the bottom line is it's legal, so the competition allows for it. The only assistance that I wear when I'm deadlifting is a belt and chalk for my hands. I know a lot of guys lift with straps. I know a lot of guys will say that's not a real deadlift. Whatever, you lift with straps, that's your deal. For me personally, I don't use straps because you can't use them in competition, but they do have their place in training, and we'll go into that in a later video. But there is a place for straps where it can be beneficial to use them. When I'm doing just conventional deadlifts off the floor, I'm gonna go without straps. A little bit of chalk. Chalk helps your grip immensely. If you've never used chalk before and you have a problem with the bar slipping out of your hands, you put chalk on, you will be amazed at how much more grip you have. It's crazy. You're only as strong as your weakest part, and if your grip is your weak point, you can only lift as much as you can hold. This is the Texas Deadlift Bar. The knurling's pretty extreme on it. Knurling. It will hurt your hands at first. You've got to build calluses up. Same thing. Feet in. 20-degree pointed out. Reach down. Shoulders back. Tighten. Pull the slack up. Bam! So I've gotten to the point where pretty much I know up to a certain weight when my forearm starts breaking down at the super heavy, and I can go with that speed because I know I'm going to do the same thing every time. If you've got to take a second, reset, and think about it before you do your next rep, do it. You want to be safe overall. You want to make sure that you're locked in and tight before you pull, because that's how you get injured. I'm demonstrating lifts for these videos, but I rarely ever max out while I'm training. I focus my lifting on rep ranges, so I'm sticking to that 5 rep range, 3 rep range, and singles, and I kind of rotate them. And we'll get into that in later videos. I'm going to go into basic training programs that are designed to facilitate training effect for guys my age. It could be for anybody, I mean, but younger guys are going to train a little bit different than older guys. A 55-year-old's not going to pull the same way as a 20-year-old. And, you know, I don't do a ton of volume, but I bring a lot of intensity. So I do AMRAP sets sometimes, which is as many reps as possible, but then, you know, I'll lower the total volume of sets that I do. Now, especially with deadlifting, I only do 3 warm-up sets and 3 working sets before I get into accessories. And I do go quite heavy, but I stay away from my top end. So let's just say I can pull 600 pounds. When I'm working out, I'm not focused on trying to get up to 605 or whatever. I'm not trying to put more weight on the top end. What I'm trying to do is I'm trying to push my rep ranges. So I might do 455, 480, 490 for a set of 5 to 10, as opposed to trying to push 600 pounds. I'm focused on getting my high-end rep range up as opposed to my top 1 rep max up. I think it's safer, it's easier, it's a lot more fun. I mean, it's a grind. If you're trying to max out every week, God, that gets old after a while, because it's just, you're just pushing so hard to get that top end up. I mean, we're talking about the most that you can do physically. And if you're trying to do that every week, geez, I mean, it just sucks. So this is a lot easier, and it translates to your top end. As your rep ranges go up, your top end goes up. So let's just say you can bench 225 for a set of 10. That's, you know, that's a reasonable number for a lot of guys that work out. If you can get that number up to 20, that means that your top end bench is going to, if you calculate that, there's a calculation you can use, and I'll show you guys that in a later video. And you can calculate roughly what your own 1 rep max is based on your rep ranges. So if you can bench 225 for a set of 20, that means that you're benching somewhere in the neighborhood of 350 pounds. And that's fairly accurate. So why am I going to try to like squeeze 350 pounds out every week, because I can barely do it, and it's a grind, and you got to have a spotter, and it's dangerous, when I can work on getting a weight that I'm comfortable lifting for sets. If I can get those reps up, my top end will go up with it. That's the principle here. That's the working theory, and I've found over time that it is accurate. So I'm not going to kill myself trying to go super heavy every week when I can go moderately heavy for more reps or add more weight to that, and I'll get the same results. Hey, baby.
Are you done recording?
Nope. I'm going to record this. I'm using a little bit of ammonia for this lift. So this is 455. A little bit of chalk for the grip. Get my feet planted, toes pointed out. Grab the bar. Roll the shoulders back. Get locked in. And I'm going to focus on firing with the legs and lifting with the back at the same time. 1, 2, 3. Reset. 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 bar hurts your hands. Gotta get them womanly hands a little bit tougher. All right, so now I got $4.95 on the bar, and if we're going to start to see breakdowns in the form, this is about the weight where I would have to really focus on what I'm doing and not be sloppy, because while it's not the most I've ever lifted, it's heavy enough where I have to respect the weight that's on the bar. Like I said, the most I've ever done in a gym is 610 pounds. I've done a 710 pound rack pull, which is you got the bar in a rack and you start at your knees, so you have much more mechanical advantage. So I've had a little over 700 pounds in my hands, holding it, but it's not a competition lift. Rack pull is an excellent training aid designed to let you lift more than you normally could naturally. And what that'll do is, the theory is by overloading, lifting heavier for a shorter range of motion, it'll translate to your full range of motion lift. So sometimes you'll see guys benching, say they can bench 315, they'll put 350 on there and they'll do half reps with blocks. And guys will say, well, it's not a real bench, he didn't go down all the way. And it's like, yeah, he's purposely doing that for a reason. So, you know, when you see guys that lift, especially power lifters, and they're doing something that doesn't look right, there's usually a reason behind it. See how it's been about, I would say a month since I went this heavy. So, see what she looks like. Feet planted, toes pointed out. Got the bar, shoulders in, back tight. Take the slack out of the bar. Probably do a couple more. A little heavy. You know what? We'll throw some more weight on the bar, see what it looks like. Alright, so now I've got 550. I got a 10 and a 5 sandwich in between those plates, so I'm a Marine, so my math, whatever. I think it's 550, 545. Either way, I'm getting closer to my top end, and I'm going way heavier than I normally would for training. But I'm just kind of demonstrating. At this weight, you should expect to see a little bit of form breakdown because you're pushing closer to the top end, the max that you can lift. And that's typical. You'll see guys on the stage, and when they're going for breaking records or personal best lifts, there's tendencies to deviate from their form a bit because it's a struggle. You're struggling to pull that. You're using everything you can to get that up. I've done more than this. I've done, close to 50, 60 pounds more than that, but that's still pretty heavy, especially for someone like me. I'm not training for a competition right now, so I haven't been pushing my max. Usually 12 weeks out before a competition, I'll start dialing in my training program, and I'm focusing on, getting those numbers up, and it changes the nature of how I'm working out. Right now, I am pushing relatively hard, but since I'm not preparing for a meet, I haven't been, going crazy with it. I've been taking rest days, and some days I'll do lighter bodybuilding stuff. So let's see what it looks like. Got my belt tight, got my chalk. Feet planted, toes out. Grab the bar, take a deep breath. I did forget to mention that before I lift, I am taking a breath, and I'm holding it in while I'm lifting, and I'll exhale at the top. I'm going to do a video on breathing. We didn't cover that. Let's focus. You know, I might be able to do 600. I don't know, that felt a little heavy, but I bet I could get pretty close.